What's up, football game plan and FCS football fans? This weekend, Saturday, noon Eastern time, I will be the color analyst for the Georgetown Hoya Catholic University Cardinals football game. You can watch this game live on watchstadium.com or patriotleague.tv, or if you're in the DC area, turn your TV to CW50, the DCW50 station, and you'll be able to see me live and direct noon Eastern time from the hilltop. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. It's already week 3 in the FCS, and based off what happened here in weeks 0, 1, and 2, it sets up a pretty huge week this upcoming Saturday, and we will tackle it all here on the FCS Kickoff.
Welcome to the FCS Kickoff Show. I'm David Hassagen, and it's time for the 4-minute offense. As Emery likes to say, continuity is king, and that continues to be true at North Dakota State at the quarterback position, where Trey Lance has been a true revelation. The dual-threat quarterback has been fantastic so far, and the redshirt freshman looked very impressive against North Dakota last week. That Bison offense will be tested against a CAA opponent in Delaware in Week 3. Central Arkansas has been a surprise team this year, going 2-0, including wins over FBS Western Kentucky and Austin Peay. The Bears are looking to rebound after a rough 2018 campaign and will start their conference schedule this week against Abilene Christian. Another year, another freshman as the starting quarterback at Lafayette. After splitting the opening game of the season, Texas native Keegan Shoemaker took on the role full-time last week against Monmouth. Even though he could not earn the Leopards a win, Shoemaker's ability to get out of the pocket will certainly make Lafayette's offense something to watch in Week 3 as they take on Sacred Heart. And finally, Colgate, who dominated in 2018, have struggled to get started in 2019 after losing to Villanova and Air Force. Colgate's defense is not yet producing as it did last year at a historic pace, but will look to return things around in Week 3 against a new-look William & Mary. We'll be back after this quick message about the FCS.
I think the FCS gives a student athlete a chance to really develop in the classroom and on the field. And I don't think there's anything that gets in the way of the development of the student athlete. You know, whereas in sometimes other conferences, other levels of play, I think there's some things that could sway a student athlete in a wrong direction here or there. But I think at the FCS level, I think it's all about the student athlete. I think it's all about his development in the classroom and also on the playing field. And it really it keeps your values and your goals right in front of you. And I think there's less things that are going to take you away from those things.
We'll kick off this week's edition of the FCS Kickoff like we always do by taking a look at some of the matchups that are primed for an upset. And we'll start in Loretto, Pennsylvania, where the St. Francis Red Flash play host to new conference foe Merrimack. Last week, the Warriors gave Central Connecticut State all they could handle in a 40-37 loss. Merrimack is surprisingly good at the point of attack, and it showed against the Blue Devils. We'll learn a lot about the offensive protection this week as the Red Flash bring in an excellent edge rusher in Dejon Lee, who racked up 3.5 TFLs and a sack against James Madison. I worry about the Red Flash offense, which hasn't been good so far this season, so look for Merrimack to notch its first win as a Division I program as they'll knock off St. Francis. Intriguing matchup in Conway, South Carolina between Coastal Carolina and Norfolk State. Both teams are 1-1 and have some impressive wins on their resume. The Spartans dominated Virginia State last weekend while Coastal upset the Kansas Jayhawks of the Big 12. The Spartans nearly pulled off the upset in Week 1 against Old Dominion, only losing by a field goal. And what's been different this year about the Spartans is that they are protecting the football a lot better. Their defense has always been solid, and has 2 NFL prospects in safety Bobby Price and defensive lineman Nigel Chavis. Coastal has been very good as well on that side of the ball, but their offense is still struggling to find its consistency. So look for the Spartans to head into Conway and earn an upset victory over the Sun Belt's Chanticleers. We head out west for this next matchup between Weber State and Nevada. There hasn't been a drop-off from the Wildcats this season, as they are still one of the premier teams in the FCS. Now they face a struggling Wolfpack team that has had its issues in stopping opponents. Defensively, they've given up 34 and 77 points respectively. The Wildcats offense hasn't had any issues moving the football, and their defense is as dominant as it was last season. Running back Josh Davis should have a big day in Reno, as I expect the Wildcats to take control from start to finish. An underrated game on the Week 3 schedule this week between Kennesaw State and Alabama State. The Owls bring in their option attack led by quarterback Daniel David, who does a fantastic job of keeping the offense on pace. The Owls are not as cohesive as they were last year, which is expected considering how many seniors they lost due to graduation. Alabama State's defense has looked very impressive so far this season, especially against the run, and where I have also been impressed has been on the offensive side of the ball with quarterback Kadaris Davis. He's been stellar from the pocket, throwing 6 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions on the season. I like the Hornets in the upset in this ball game. Head coach Donald Hill-Ely has done a great job with this program, and I think they get a statement win versus a top 10 opponent. The Colgate Raiders travel to Williamsburg to take on a Tribe of William and Mary. For Colgate, it's about finding some offense to get their season back on the right track. The Raiders have been very inconsistent in that regard to start the season, putting their defense in a lot of disadvantageous situations. William and Mary puts a ton of pressure on your defense because of their unique go-go offense, which forces you to play assignment sound defense all game long. Defensively, if they can win on first down, they have a chance to pick up their second win on the season. I think we'll see them do just that against Colgate. I like the Tribe. Wofford plays host to conference foe Sanford this weekend, and all eyes will be on the Bulldogs QB Chris Oludokin. The South Florida transfer has been spectacular for Sanford, tossing 7 touchdowns with no interceptions and completing 76% of his passes so far this season. They'll need all of that type of production for it looks like the rest of the season, as their defense has been non-existent so far in 2019, which bodes well for the Wofford Terriers and their offense, which does a great job in forcing you to play great defense and trying to defend their ground game. I like Wofford in this matchup. Sanford's offense is great, but if you can't stop anyone from scoring, it's very hard to win. Another really good matchup on the Week 3 schedule is between Duquesne and Youngstown State. The Dukes are looking for their first win ever over the Penguins and will more than likely lean on their talented pro prospect at running back, A.J. Hines, to do so. Defensively for the Dukes, they'll face one of the top rushing attacks in the FCS in Youngstown State, who are off to an impressive 2-0 start to the season. The Penguins have been playing fantastic, opportunistic defense, showing a lot of enthusiasm out there on the field. And I think that can take a team a long way, and I think it gets them the win over Duquesne at home. Nicholls travels to Prairie View A&M to take on the Panthers. This might be one of the best games of the weekend in my opinion. The Colonels are coming off of a bye and have had 2 weeks to prepare for the high-octane offense of the Panthers. Prairie View has the ability to push the pace and score quickly with their dynamic duo of quarterback Jalen Morton and running back DeWanya Tucker. This game will be won along the line of scrimmage, and that's where I think the Colonels can give the Panthers some trouble, especially defensively with defensive lineman Brandon Fontenot. I like Nicholls in this game in a tight one over Prairie View A&M. In a game where both defenses will be looking to rebound, the Jacksonville Dolphins travel to take on Presbyterian this weekend. JU's option attack will do its part in playing keep away, but they'll need a Dolphins defense to do a great job of getting off the field. The Blue Hose have a well-balanced offensive attack that's capable of moving the ball with some success. The problem is a defense that is young and experienced and is still working through some communication issues. I think we'll see Jacksonville get back on the winning track by knocking off Presbyterian. The battle for the real HU takes place in Chicago this year. In the Chicago Football Classic, Hampton is coming off of an upset loss to Division II Virginia Union, while the Bison are also coming off of a defeat, this time at the hands of Youngstown State. The Pirates have to be much better on defense. Too many big plays given up last week on both ends. Now they face a Howard team that has one of the top dual threat QBs in the MEAC and Kalen Newton, and while the Bison offense is still without Jaquez Ezzard, they still have more than enough offense with both wide receiver Kyle Anthony and running back Dedrick Parson. I like Hampton in this ball game. Right now, Howard's defense is still young and growing, but I don't think they're quite there just yet. So look for quarterback DeAndre Francois and running back Shai McKenzie, to lead the Pirates to victory. Big battle in the CAA as Elon takes on Richmond. Both teams are already looking better than what we saw from them last season. I like the balance of Elon, especially running back Jalen Thomas, but also their offensive line seems to be much better than expected. They'll face a tough matchup this week as they'll see the preseason CAA Defensive Player of the Year and defensive end Maurice Jackson. Richmond's offense has also been able to run the football because of their play up front, so we'll get a point of attack treat in this one. I do like Richmond in this ball game. I think the experience in playing against a team like Jacksonville helps prepare them for a team like Elon based on how they were able to handle the blocking assignments and what the Dolphins tried to do to them up front. I do like the Spiders. Alcorn State heads to Lake Charles, Louisiana to take on McNeese State in what is a big-time out-of-conference matchup between two well-coached ball clubs. You know, when the Braves come to town, they're bringing in their dominant running game, spearheaded by the quarterback Noah Johnson and a stable of backs led by Deshaun Waller, but also they bring in an aggressive front seven that does a great job in smothering the line of scrimmage. McNeese's quarterback Cody Orgeron is an excellent dual threat QB himself as well, keeping defenses off balance with his ability to run and also do damage in the passing game in and out of the pocket. Defensively for the Cowboys, I'm a big fan of Chris Livings, their edge rusher. It'll be up to him to keep Noah Johnson contained in the pocket. However, I do worry about the secondary and offensive consistency of McNeese State, so I'll go with Alcorn State in the upset in this one. The number one team in the country, North Dakota State, heads out east this time to battle with the Blue Hens of Delaware. Last year in the Fargo Dome, North Dakota State made light work of Delaware. This time the Bison are led by redshirt freshman sensation Trey Lance at QB and still are led by linebacker Jabril Cox on the other side of the ball, who's one of the best in the nation regardless of conference level or subdivision. Quarterback Pat Kehoe of Delaware balances out the Blue Hens attack and will look to avoid turning the ball over in this one. You have to play a complete clean game in order to knock off North Dakota State. I do like Delaware long-term in the CAA and the rest of the season, but not in this ball game against the Bison. I'm taking North Dakota State. What a matchup between two top 10 teams we have in week 3 between Maine and Towson. I've been more impressed with the Tigers defense than anything this season. I thought they would have been a drop off in production with some of the losses, but they were just as excellent as they were last year. That, coupled with their Tom Flacco-led offense, has made them outstanding so far this season. Maine looks to be as strong as they were last year when they made a deep run in the playoffs. Their quarterback Chris Ferguson is one of the best in the FCS, and this game will ultimately come down to defense. The Black Bears have been solid on that side of the ball, but they haven't been as dominant as we've seen recently. I like Towson in this ball game. If you're a betting man, take the over. I see a back and forth affair with Towson getting the key defensive stop in the end to win it on the road. And for only the 9th time in their 111-year football history, the Eastern Washington Eagles travel out east for our Stats FCS Game of the Week against Jacksonville State. The Eagles come into this contest off of a win against Division II Lindenwood. Quarterback Eric Barrier threw for over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, 3 of them to wide receiver Dre Sante Dorton, who had nearly 300 yards receiving. That's all fine and dandy, but the concerns in this game are surrounding an Eagles defense that hasn't been able to get the stop or stop the big play from happening in the passing game. And that's not what you want to hear when you're facing Zarek Cooper and that aerial attack of Jacksonville State. I think defensively, the Gamecocks' defensive line and secondary led by Marlon Bridges will be able to slow down the Eagles enough to get some stops. But can Cooper and that offense have a mistake-free game all game long? That'll be the question. I do like Eastern Washington in this contest. Push comes to shove, I think the Eagles offense, understanding what they have to do in order to keep their defense protected, will get the job done and win the ball game. So that's it for this week's episode of the FCS Kickoff. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Gameplan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also, head over to iTunes, hit subscribe on Football Gameplan Podcast, leave us a 5-star rating, where you can find our FCS Opening Drive podcast, where David Hashagen and myself give you all of the news, notes, and tidbits around the FCS. And also be tuned on the Football Gameplan Network, again, located at youtube.com/footballgameplan for our FCS Whip Around, where our FCS correspondents get you up to speed to what's going on around the 13 FCS conferences.